Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and warm welcome to you all for this first technical session under the blue panel of the Food Conclave that is being very ably hosted by the state government of Telangana. I thank the government of Telangana as well as the Society of Aquaculture Professionals for inviting Yes Bank to moderate this technical session. And in this session, we will focus on the supply side, revolving around the question, can aquaculture serve as a viable alternative to agriculture? And if so, how do we enable sustainable growth of the aquaculture sector? During this session, we will have the privilege of listening to four eminent and distinguished industry leaders on the potential of aquaculture sector to serve as a means for diversification, the opportunities and challenges that they see in the sector, and the role that the government and private sector could play in enabling sustainable growth and development of the aquaculture sector. On behalf of Government of Telangana and SAP, I take great pleasure inviting our four distinguished panelists to join me on stage. Our first panelist, I welcome Dr. Jogi Anand Varma Garu, who is Director of Ananda Group. Dr. Jogi is a renowned industrialist and a social entrepreneur who is actively engaged in aquaculture, fisheries, and allied agriculture sectors. Thank you, Jogi ji, for joining us. Please give him a good hand. The group has set up India's first integrated shrimp and fish unit with multi-species hatcheries, 100 hectares of grow-out ponds, both for shrimps and fish, and 3 modern fish and shrimp processing plants that supply high-quality aqua produce across the globe. And Ananda Group also manufactures floating and sinking fish and shrimp feed and has a distribution network across the country. Thank you, Jogi Garu, for accepting the invite and joining us today. Our second panelist is Dr. Haribabu Garu, a renowned ex-professor from the College of Fisheries, Nellore, and currently the technical advisor to Deepak Nexgen. Haribabu Garu, please. Professor Haribabu Garu is a highly respected expert in the field of fisheries with over 4 decades of experience in academia and industry. He holds a PhD in fisheries science from ICAR CIFE Mumbai. And as professor of fisheries, Dr. Haribabu has mentored countless students and researchers, inspiring them with his passion and deep knowledge of aquatic life in general and aquatic animal health in specific. He's extremely passionate about transferring technology from lab to land, and he has conducted more than 5,000 farmer meetings in his career so far. Welcome, Haribabu Garu. We look forward to hearing from you. Our third panelist is Mr. Anil Kumar SG, founder and CEO of Sammunnati Finance Services Private Limited. Anil Garu. Mr. Anil is a career banker turned entrepreneur who has embarked on a remarkable journey in the Indian agri-finance space with a focus on making markets work for farmers. Anil Garu holds a master's in management from the Asian Institute of Management and Manali, and has in the banking sector. He has worked with Canara Bank, he's worked with ICICI Bank, and then he founded Sammunnati Finance Services Limited, a NBFC specialized in enabling agricultural value chains by providing innovative and customized financial solutions and non-financial solutions in the market. For his outstanding contribution as a social entrepreneur in the agriculture space, Anil Garu has received numerous awards and recognitions, including the Best Social Entrepreneur in Global Social Entrepreneurship Program 2018, the Real Leader Impact Award 2020, and the ET Social Enterprise Startup Award in 2020. Thank you, Anil Garu, for coming today, and look forward to hearing from you. Our next panelist, I welcome on stage Mr. Akshat Shah, CFO of C6 Energies. Akshat ji, aye. Mr. Akshat has completed a BA in Economics and Finance from Washington and Lee University. He is a finance and strategy professional with global leadership experience gained across investment banking, startup operations, corporate and business development, early stage investing, and media entrepreneurship. C6 Energies, where he is currently the CFO, is a deep tech startup that has raised about $25 million in capital funding from global VCs and is working on creating a variety of products from sustainably grown marine biomass. Thank you, Akshat ji, for coming in. So before we start the panel discussion, I'll set a brief context. Of course, Madhu Garu did give an overview of what is the requirements for the fishery sector. The fishery sector, of course, contributes significantly to India's socio-economic development. and the sector is estimated to be providing livelihoods to about 28 million people across the country. Though the fisheries sector contributes about 6.7% to the overall agricultural GVA of India, the fisheries sector is the fastest growing subsector in the agricultural sector. If we look at overall agricultural sector growth over the last 10 years, the agricultural sector has grown at about 3.8% as a decadal CAGR. And vis-a-vis this, the fisheries sector has grown at about 7.9%. So it's a significant difference. And compare it with crops, crops are growing at around 2.1%. While more than 70% of the fish produced in India is consumed domestically, this sector also contributes significantly to our country's exports. So we know that the fisheries sector is the second largest export commodity from the country. We have grown from about $3 billion in 2011 to about $8 billion now. And that is an important contribution to the overall economy of our country. If we come to the freshwater aquaculture, which is very important for Telangana, given that we don't have a coastline, in the mid-80s, the freshwater aquaculture contribution was about 34% of the India's total fish production. And today, the contribution is more than 70%. So there's a significant change in the way fish is produced and utilized in India. Increasing domestic demand and high export potential has turned that spotlight on aquaculture to serve as a key driver in India's quest to double income of farmers. And with this brief context, it gives me great pleasure to initiate the moderation of this session on aquaculture as a viable alternative to agriculture for diversification. And during this panel discussion, we'll go through two rounds of questions. The first round will be focusing on trying to understand the potential opportunities that aquaculture sector offers to Indian farmers as well as the Indian economy. And the second round of questions will focus on trying to understand the challenges and barriers that hinder growth and what needs to be done both by the private sector and the government to improve the sustainable growth of the sector. With this, I'll start with my first question. My first question is to Dr. Jogi Anand Garu. Jogi Garu, Ananda Group is a leading integrated aquaculture player. You're into fish, you're into shrimp, but you started off as a rice milling company. And you're based out of Bhimavaram, and Bhimavaram has seen the transformation from being a rice bowl to also the aqua bowl of the country. Could you please share with us your views on the impact of diversification from traditional agriculture to aquaculture on farmers in specific? And also, what was the role that private sector and government played in this transformation?
In this session where Sunjay Garu has put up the question of aquaculture being an alternative to agriculture. I think all the members here are from aquaculture field, and it's a unanimous answer that it's an yes, that aquaculture will always be alternative for agriculture. One, it's going to be, agriculture is needed, as everybody accepts that food is the need of the human mankind. When it comes to aquaculture, which is allied activity of agriculture, which is a classification, it is part of agriculture. Aquaculture is a profitable entity when compared to agriculture. First thing, you have to diversify, because I'm from a place called Bhimavaram, which was earlier considered the rice bowl of India. Today, it is called the aquaculture capital of India. If you look at the transition right from the early 1980s, it was just a preliminary stage where fish was just produced using different varieties without giving natural feed. Then you diversify from having the hatcheries and then getting into organized feed business. Then you get into farming sector, where farming itself is being developed, where newer technologies from across the globe are given to all the people here, and then processing and exports. But aquaculture here plays a very vital role, because we have to bring in the blue revolution through blue transformation. What I would put in my word here is, this transformation has to come with the policies where these have to be integrated through the national level and through the state level. I would say, the key would be, how do you transform? the existing pattern of agriculture and then convert that into aquaculture. To understand, first primary process would be from the developmental point of view, you have to identify the zones where aquaculture should be permitted. And that's the key where it's like, I mean, this is the future. Everybody knows that aquaculture is famous in Andhra, in Orissa, or in Gujarat, or in Maharashtra, wherever you have a coastline. But when it comes to Telangana, where we are locked, we only have freshwater here. I think there's a huge potential in here in freshwater because you look at China, which is the #1 country in the world, just one species of freshwater called grass carp. There's 6 million tons of fish that is produced just by China. For us, in Telangana or in India, what is the need of the hour here is diversification, where domestic market has to be promoted with a species that is consumed by the people of India and even good for export. I think this plays a very critical role here. I think, I mean, today we are focused only on Indian major carps. I think Rohu, Katla are the major ones. A little of Pangaceous is being value added into fillet, and very rudimentary forms of whole fish is being even exported to South African countries. Whereas on comparison with the shrimp business, 95% is being exported. The best part of shrimp here is the species, the parents come from the US. The US market is where they have the nucleus breeding center, wherein India right now has been awarded only 3. And then we are dependent today on international markets where we'll have to get the brood stock from US or from Indonesia or from, I think these two are the predominant players where Indian shrimp brood stock is 100% dependent on. I think once the brood stock or the newer generation, including genetic modification, is done in-house here in India, I think we have a huge potential where we can take it to the next level. And then I think, once it starts from the hatchery, it's a cycle where it goes from hatchery to farming, farming to feed processing, feed to processing and exports for domestic market and international markets.
Thank you, Jogi Garu. My understanding from what you said, species, we have the opportunity of growing significantly, like in China, you mentioned the 6 million tons of production. Can we look at something where we can focus on? With that background, Dr. Haribabu Garu, I just would like to come to you. So you have been very closely engaged in studying the aquaculture sector and have been very closely working with farmers to promote good health, good nutrition for the fisheries sector. How do you see is the impact of the growth of aquaculture sector in Andhra or in areas where it's growing? What do you see is the impact of what Telangana government is doing for the blue revolution in India? And what are the opportunities that Telangana government needs to focus on to achieve the vision that they're looking at in the blue space? To you, Haribabu Garu.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And before starting any of my experience, let me express my deep sense of gratitude to Telangana government, and stalwarts are sitting before me as Commissioner of Fisheries. Madam has already invited me for that one workshop, and I was very happy to see ma'am as a CEO of NFDB. Definitely, you can play a greater role. And Tarun Sridhar sir, who was a sought-after man, who is very instrumental in bringing Venami into India. Thank you very much, sir. You have made this possible, and I appreciate this many number of times. Let us clap him because your positive attitude, your proactive. We are today competing with global level with Ecuador, definitely because of your entrepreneur and initiative. Thank you. And hatchery expert, Ravi Garu, and Grovel Narendra Garu, we started our journey together. Nice to see you, and Ravi, and first batch student of my college sitting here as entrepreneur from Telangana, Rangareddy. Thank you. Nice to see you here, and we are here to talk about the prosperity of Telangana. Definitely, you can play a major role, and really all of you, thank you. And from Gujarat, Manoj Sharma Garu, nice to see you here, all of you, and our old friends, really. So a lot of people are there. Everyone I can say, call my name, but still. To answer the question, and knowledge partner of this conclave, Society for Aqua Professionals, all the stalwarts are here, starting from the founder, chairman, and all the active members are here. And I feel very happy. I may be wrong in some of my expressions, but try to correct me. And I may not talk too far away from the facts. But Telangana can learn many things just by observing Andhra Pradesh. It has already been under the process. What we are doing, what can be done in here, repetition, during the replication of the process, what has been transformed Andhra Pradesh, what to do, what not to do. Already it has been filtered technologically, what is feasible or not feasible. But before going to the details of technicalities, definitely aquaculture has become very good, dependable source of income to the small farmer, corporate to corporate, cooperative to corporate. So everywhere, recent trends last 2-3 years, central part of India is encouraged to go for aquaculture. Northeastern part also is taking lot of activities for promotion of fish culture. We are still, our business is lot of business of seed supply to Telangana. Andhra Pradesh is capable of producing any number, but things are changing. Earlier it was carp culture. Today, Andhra farmers are shifting from Pangasius to Rupchan. And for consumer habits are also changing. A good trend, had it been only with Katla, Rohu, Mrugala, would not have become that much, our farmers would not have become that much comfortable, and I should not have represented my company, Deepak Nexgen, selling floating fish feed to that level of more than nearly 2 lakh tons, and Grovel did pioneering work in promoting the floating and this Ananda group. Everybody played critical roles to support that evolution of Pangasius. So it has created a lot of opportunities, that opened doors for processing industry, exports. Now we are thinking globally, definitely acting locally, and value addition to not only to the fish or consumer, value addition to the seed that is stocked into the water is more important. Value addition in terms of maintaining good quality water at the time of seed stocking itself creates a lot of survival, lot of cost savings to the investment. And one point we should not forget is, like agriculture, here farmer can lose very heavy amount of money if he is going wrong. So in Telangana itself, we have, in Andhra Pradesh also, sir, welcome sir, luminary, and thank you sir, we welcome you on the front seat sir, vacant. Front seat is vacant sir, Gupta sir. Unsung heroes are there, untold stories are there in terms of failures and experiences. So many people have burnt their fingers in attempting moral culture with the profit motive. Somewhere something is lacking, because one point I could sense is, what is their technical need once they stock the seed. From day to day onwards, they do develop a lot of technical problems. There is no proper person to whom to talk. And ultimately expecting 400 to 600 rupees per kg, they could satisfy with the 300 rupees per kg. Ultimately it has disillusioned and it has discontinued. But no doubt, 1 or 2 farmers are doing excellent business, but we can learn many things from the failure farmers. Introspection with failure farmers in Telangana itself will give a lot of emphasis where we have to, how to proceed. First point, that is my first point.
So in your experience, is there a specific technology or a specific species that you recommend for Telangana government?
No specific technology required. If you see the case study of Andhra Pradesh, once the farmers imported, early days, once they imported seed from Calcutta and released the seed into the pond, they were ignorant of what to feed, how to feed the DOB also. Whether to give in ball form, whether to give in powder form. Ultimately, bag feeding has become a unique property in India, so in the world. So nowhere to repeat the Kolleru carp culture. It's unique. By hungry only, farmers were very hungry to value add to their fallow lands in Kolleru area. Here also we have to create hunger to the farmer. Once he gets the hungry, and once he himself convert, and we should not encourage conversion of valuable agricultural land to aquaculture. Initially, we have to encourage fallow land or low productivity lands only to be encouraged. And fortunately, Telangana government is having a lot of resources in terms of reservoirs. These reservoirs also, all the reservoirs are not fit for conversion to aquaculture. Here we have to spare some of the reservoirs free from aquaculture, because water quality is very essential. If 2 years continuously drought situation is there, reservoirs will come half level. Whether next year half level reservoir will be filled with next year rain or not, that is in question. So technology here for aquaculture, initially we have to start with reservoirs full of water. That may be okay. If there is consecutively 2 years of drought situation, reservoirs will come down. That time we may have to discontinue aquaculture in some of the reservoirs.
Thank you, Haribabu Garu. So broadly, if I understand correct, and of course I'll come back to you once we go to the other
Last
panel.
one point here is, our Honorable Minister K.T. Ramarao Garu mentioned about starting Aqua University. Definitely there we have to take care of. Syllabus is falling behind 20 years, 30 years before. Our farmers are going well ahead. At least in our university, in industry-oriented courses should be given priority in addition to the ICR curriculum. We have to sail with ICR whatever they say, because ultimately we need accreditation. But apart from BFSC degree, career industry-oriented upgradation chances to the farmers and entrepreneurs should be given in that university. Then we can move fast forward by integrating global knowledge to local standards.
Thank you, Dr. Haribabu. So I think a couple of things that very clearly come out are, one, the way to get into building or growing aquaculture, using fallow lands, using the right ponds, overall study on that. And the second is, of course, how do we feed? How do we?
Definitely, Vuppuluri sir. I may be taking a lot of your time because you are running by time slot. But so many facts, I wrote, unsung stories are there in Andhra Pradesh. Earlier, DOB was wastefully dumped on the roadsides. Once aquaculture started, it has become valued commodity. It has sustained aquaculture for so many years, DOB, raw material, groundnut cake. And at one point of time, poultry farmers were weeping how to clear the excreta, poultry excreta from their poultry sheds. Once the poultry excreta was started integrated into fish culture, production doubled, poultry farmers' pollution was cleared. They were now selling poultry excreta also in per ton of value. So here also in Telangana, already virgin soils, lot of small animals are giving, a sheep population is more. We can integrate that farmyard manure in a valuable manner in sustaining microbiome. Microbiome sustainability is more important today in aquaculture. So sorry, I don't interfere.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to be here, and good afternoon, everyone. First caveat, I don't come from this industry. So please pardon me that I don't understand any of this, and I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed by Dr. Jogi and Dr. Haribabu Garu's comments. I'm a simple debit credit man. Have been doing the business of debit and credit for last 32 years. And we actually stumbled into aquaculture rather accidentally in this pursuit of debit and credit. So as Sammunnati, we are an entity that works in the entire agri-value chain with the farmer collectives, predominantly the FPOs on one end of the spectrum, all the way to agri-enterprises on the other end of the spectrum. And we work with the members of the collectives, which are the smallholder farmers, as an extension of our engagement with the FPOs and the entire MSME ecosystem in the agri-enterprises in terms of the dealer, distributor, retailer, vendor, supplier network. So we started our journey about 8 years ago in the dairy value chain. And one of the metrics of our engagement with the smallholder farmers in dairy was to reduce the cost of animal feed. And that led us to the feed industry. And then we realized that while feed industry for the bovine animals is one dimension, the feed industry is common for poultry and fishery. And then that's when I realized the best of the feed goes to the fisheries, then the not so best feed goes to the poultry, and the least of the quality comes to the bovine animals because of their ability to handle the quality dimension. Is how we got introduced to the aquaculture. So our entry into the fisheries is more accidental, I would say. But having said that, that entry has had a little bit of scale. We have worked with about 122 processors in the aqua industry, and we have deployed about 600 crores so far in our journey, predominantly in Bhimavaram, of course. And what our understanding of this space is coming from our engagement with these 122 processors. And as a banker, the one thing that we have to be aware of is the risks associated with funding, because there is no point in taking the land or a pond or a fish inside as the collateral. We all know, what to do with that. But then what is most important is what are the risks associated with the activity, and how, as an entity interested in scaling the business, do we bring in the dimension of the risk mitigation to that, which we will talk later. But then we as Sammunnati see a significant opportunity in the aqua space for 2-3 reasons. One, we are a non-bank. And as you know, Sunjay Garu being a banker, non-banks thrive when banks don't understand how to underwrite. Right?
Absolutely.
ఎంతమందికి తెలుగు వచ్చండి ఇక్కడ? How many people know Telugu? Right. Great. So తెలుగులో ఆయనే ఉంటే మంగళ ఎందుకు అంటారు? Right? So if they have understood how to underwrite, then there is no necessity for a non-bank, because non-banks are expensive, all said and done. The reason is because our own borrowing is expensive. So the beauty of an industry where the banks have not penetrated deep, where eagles dare to go is where NBFCs dare to go. We see a big opportunity there because one, there is a huge social capital that exists between the players in the agri value chain. And fishery as a value chain has that dimension where the constituents who buy and sell and who produce and consume in the value chain, not the ultimate consumer, they all have a definite rhythm that someone can leverage, the social capital. But the social capital is in the context of buying and selling, working together. How do we leverage the transaction history, which is what we refer to as trade capital, to be able to engage in a financing structure? In other words, social capital would determine whom to lend to, and trade capital would determine how much to lend to, right? And these two dimensions can be brought in as an underwriting structure in making sure that the products are customized to be able to lend in aquaculture. And our product is actually a typical working capital structure, predominantly with the processors today, where we have a 90-day structure where they export and then wait for the money to come in, and we discount the receivables from their importers and then provide the much needed working capital to the players in the fisheries. Last point. We certainly see a significant uptick in terms of engaging with the FFPOs, the fisheries FPOs, because unlike the regular FPOs where the members have multiple products, the beauty of the specified FFPO is that you are in a specific value chain. Because you are in a specific value chain, the ability to offer customized solutions is much better across the value chain actors because your needs are homogeneous. And hence, a value chain proposition is relatively more easier to be deployed in an FFPO structure than a regular FPO structure, because there is a multi-product environment there and the needs are heterogeneous. So since there is a significant policy level push to the fishery farmer producer organization, we certainly see a huge role that all of us and Sammunnati can play in that. Over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Anil. I think, and how are you looking at the growth in FFPOs and the efforts being put in on FFPOs to utilize as a channel for creating access to finance? My next, Akshat Shah, you're in one very interesting space, utilizing sea biomass for producing products. So could you explain to us what you actually do and what is the opportunity from an aqua perspective?
Hi folks, my name is Akshat. I represent a company called C6 Energy. So just like Anilji said, we also have accidentally found ourselves in the aquaculture space. We have a product called Shrimp Plus that's an immunostimulant in shrimp that increases the immune responses in shrimp so that they could withstand certain diseases which otherwise would wipe out the shrimp population in a short duration. But that's not the focus of what I want to draw your attention to. I think for us, we would like to sort of broaden the definition of aquaculture a little bit. We want to broaden the definition of saying, instead of aquaculture as an alternative or a viable alternative to agriculture, can we look at it as aqua agriculture as a complement to land-based agriculture as we know it, right? Can we take agriculture beyond just the shores of land and use the viable ocean ecosystem to develop the future biomass for a sustainable planet? So our whole worldview, Sunjay, is covered in the sustainability lens, right? We are organized as a company to develop disruptive, innovative solutions for a sustainable planet. Now, that's a very broad agenda, and so obviously you have to find themes within that you could go after. But more specifically, we sort of stepped back and we said, okay, biomass, what is fundamentally biomass? Any organic matter that comes from land-based sources, as we've conventionally known it. But when you kind of step back and you evaluate where does biomass come from and what's the scalability challenge there or what's the price challenge there, if you're tied to anything that's land-derived, it is going to be fundamentally capped from a long-term scalability perspective. So if you were trying to create a sustainable universe of product solutions to address our global problems, looking beyond land is a very vital or a very fundamental thing. So the way we see it is, if you could farm sustainably on the ocean, you could significantly reduce the dependency on land agriculture to also provide output for additional items, right? So land today we already use for food, we use for feed. Certain outputs go into other, ancillary things like clothing. But we're also trying to create reliance on land-based biomass or land-based output for other sustainable products, right? Bamboo fibers for day-to-day use cases, or we're trying to say convert biomass into ethanol. And what we're already starting to see is a lot of conflict on land use, either from a freshwater perspective or from a raw availability of land perspective. So we see the sea as a very natural extension of what we've been doing on land. The fundamental biomass does not change, right? And sea plants or seaweed, which is what we work with, offers is a very versatile organic matter that could be transformed into multiple large industrial applications. So that's where C6 sits, right? It's in the midst of this, right? So we're vertically integrated along the seaweed value chain, trying to transform agriculture on the ocean through mechanization. And if you can solve that through sustainable, scalable means, you could potentially create a biomass that could address what we do today, which is agri-inputs. We have a business that sells in about a dozen odd countries, including India, where we sell biological formula or biological products for agri-inputs. Also feed, shrimp. We're looking at poultry and other stuff. But also getting into large applications like bioplastics and potentially biofuel. So we broaden the definition of aquaculture and says, why limit ourselves to this? There's obviously a role for aquaculture, but we can take that further and say, let's harness the potential of the ocean to come up with a future marine biomass that could help create a sustainable planet for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think bonds, that's a question we could, of course, discuss offline. Madhugaru, how much time do we have? Another 5 minutes? Or if it's okay, I'll go through one last question. 15 minutes. Okay. So given that we'll quickly go through what are the challenges and what are the key roles that private sector, and I mentioned a couple of challenges, hatcheries, access to seed. You're now coming into Telangana in a big way in the fisheries cultivation and processing sector. What are the key challenges that come top of mind for a processor when he's putting up a facility? And how do you see the role of a private sector player and government while coming up with such facilities in the fishery sector?
Yeah, I think, this is a broader question that you have asked me. The big part here is, for domestic market, what species are we going to do? Okay, we are already used to Indian major carps, which is consumed only for domestic market. When it comes to shrimp, it is 95% being exported. But now coming back to Telangana, you want to take aquaculture to the next level. It's dependent purely on freshwater aquaculture. I think here, on the policy side, my point here is focus more on species diversification. Okay, first thing, everybody knows what species is needed here. We are limited. When it comes to shrimp, it's going to be scampi. When it comes to fishes, you can do tilapia, pangasius, paku, sea bass, or another Telangana species called marl. The key here is market, demand, supply. Once we phase out, what is the need for the domestic market? How do we market that thing? Production is one part, but sustaining the production through demand is the critical point where I think government has to initiate promoting fish eating habits. Is going to be a major role. In the morning session, in the main panel, everybody was talking about Roj Kavo and Anda. Everybody has to promote here in this forum. All of us are from fisheries background. We have to say and take it to the next level that we have to promote fish eating as a healthy habit. Madam is here from NFDB and Secretary Sir is also here. Former. Yes, former. Sorry. Everybody agrees that, India is so diversified by population. The key is going to be the demand that you can create for domestic market. Every MNC company from the globe is trying to take advantage of the population here in India. We being here in India, we have to have a solution with policy from the government side and from the private sector where it is sustainable and it is demand that is created for the domestic market with option for being exported from India.
Thank you, Jogi. We look at export. To you, Haribabu Garu, the same question, but more from overall developmental perspective. What are the key two challenges, and what should the government do to grow the aquaculture sector?
Definitely more popularization of the technology is need of the hour, and already village panchayat tanks have become key players in popularizing the technology because panchayat tanks lease has become so enormous with the profitability from that, and cage culture in reservoirs slowly picking up. Government of Telangana Department of Fisheries has already been into the focus area of popularizing the technology, but estimating the biomass is to be taught very properly, otherwise everything may go waste. So potentiating the water and optimizing the water quality, potentiating not to the peak levels, but optimizing the water quality during extremes of temperature is the need, and once that is done, definitely local consumption and importation of seed may not be a desirable quality from including Andhra Pradesh, but developing your own seed may help in realization of more survivals, all those things. So broodstock hatcheries production and also estimating the productivity properly with good optimum water quality. And one more point, sir, from agriculture you are getting a lot of drain water. So paddy drain water you can store it at some point. If that is not properly polluted with pesticides, you can make use of the drain water instead of wasting it into rivers. You can raise it for aquaculture purposes because ultimately Kollier is nothing but agriculture drain base. So that way you can, few pockets you can potentiate agriculture drain water for value addition before releasing into the system, and definitely that's my thing.
Thank you. An academician and also a person who takes care of growth in aqua sector. As a banker, what do you think are the key risks, and what should the industry or the government do so that the banks are more comfortable, or banking or financial institutions are more comfortable lending or accessing or providing credit in the aquaculture sector? Anil Garu.
Right. Well, an industry can grow only when banks come into, funding the industry, or else you'll have cute little pilots and they cannot scale to, 100,000 crore to 200,000 crore and so on and so forth. And as Sammunnati, Sama Unnati, it's collective growth. Unless the farmer gets the benefit of all the, all the upside that this particular sector potentially has, then the value chain proposition is useless. In my view, the challenges that we may have to address are rather. One is the volatility of the entire activity at the production level. Because as a lender, the first thing that someone looks at is the certainty. Right? Certainty of the outcomes. Whatever is the outcome, certainty of outcome. The second dimension is when the certainty of the outcome is not guaranteed, or if there is volatility in the outcome, then is there a safety net, insurance. Both these dimensions need to be looked into for this specific value chain, in my view, because both don't exist at a farmer level. The reason why we are engaging with about 120 processors is we also know that the production risk is taken care of. Now it is only the logistics that we are looking at and underwriting the eventual buyer. But then that is only one part of the story. The story that all of us have to focus on is what's happening at the pond level, what's happening at the entity level. And so many industry experts are there. If you can bring in the dimension of safety net and the certainty of the outcome of this particular activity, I'm sure banks would come in. And both of us have been part of the growth of the microfinance in India. 98, 2000, all of us knew that this is all unsecured loans and nothing would come back. And today we are talking of that sector being 350,000 crore sector thanks to banks. Entry can be from cute little pilots that some of us are running, but the scale would happen once we bring in banks, and that is where we can make a difference, Sanjay garu.
Thank you, Anil garu. So the from an opportunity for an inland state like Telangana, what needs to be done for promoting aqua biomass? I mean,
Yeah, no, absolutely. So while the state may not have a natural coastline for them to explore, supporting this new dimension that we are trying to build, the downstream applications, right? I think there's absolutely a lot of potential, right? So like I said, the verticals for us range from everything from food biostimulants or agri biostimulants to shrimp feed and animal feed that we're getting into, including replacements to biocrude or replacements to crude with a biocrude that we can get from biomass. So the downstream applications are obviously, we're targeting $1 trillion worth of markets here with biomass from the ocean. So I think the support from government could come from a whole host of things. I mean, I was just hearing Anilji as well. For a products company, because we were sort of vertically integrated and we have a downstream product. So products company, when we make sales, right, to get support from a vendor financing, like a supply chain financing perspective, because otherwise we're out 180, 240 days. So for a young startup, being out 240 days on payment terms is never it's never feasible. We're out on valuable equity capital. So what could be some protection measures or what could be some insurance measures that allows us to also get some, better payment terms, right, to support farmers so that the overall ecosystem is growing and benefiting. So products companies can innovate, because otherwise the incentive to innovate is also very, very low. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Akshat.